You lie still somewhere between waking and sleep. There is no sound, only a low hum that seems to come from the inside of the world itself. It's faint, steady, almost like breathing. They say that every planet hums, that beneath the oceans, beneath the crust, even beneath the molten metal at Earth's heart, there's a quiet vibration, a magnetic pulse that never stops. For billions of years, that pulse has kept us safe. It bends the solar windshields, the atmosphere paints auroras across the poles. It is, in a way, the Earth's heartbeat. But lately, scientists at NASA have been listening to something strange. The rhythm has changed. In the data streams from the swarm satellites, 3 small spacecraft orbiting together, the magnetic field of Earth shows tiny hesitations, almost imperceptible. Pulses that used to come like a drummer's perfect beat are now drifting as if the rhythm itself were searching for a new tempo. It's nothing catastrophic, at least not yet, but it's real. You breathe in. The thought of a planet's heartbeat slowing feels impossible, yet the numbers are there, measured in nanoteslas, the invisible pressure of magnetism flowing around us. To scientists, it's called the geomagnetic anomaly, a quiet rearrangement happening deep inside the planet's liquid iron core. They believe the core is moving faster, in some regions, slower in others. When molten iron flows, it generates electric currents. Those currents create our magnetic field, and that field, unseen yet essential, is what allows every compass to find north, every satellite to stay balanced, every aurora to dance. It's strange to think that everything alive depends on something so silent. If that pulse were to stop for even a moment, the sky would be rewritten. Far above, in the calm of space, the sun stirs. Its surface looks peaceful from afar, but up close, it's chaos rivers of plasma, twisting in magnetic storms. NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory records every flare and filament, every eruption of X-rays and ultraviolet light. Most days, the sun hums in its usual tone, but sometimes it falters. On November nights like this, 1-2 X-class flares have already flared toward Earth. You can't see them. They travel not as fire, but as light, pure and electric. In 8 minutes, that light will reach us, as it always has. When it hits the upper atmosphere, it splits molecules apart, charging the air. This is the ionosphere, where atoms lose electrons and space begins. It glows faintly invisible to the naked eye, but in data, it flickers like a heartbeat too. And so, 2 pulses meet, one from the sun, one from the Earth, overlapping, colliding, sometimes resonating. Physicists call it electromagnetic coupling, the way solar storms can charge the global electric circuit, altering the delicate balance of our planet's field. Poets might call it something else, a conversation between stars and stone. You imagine the planet as a living body, its crust the skin, its oceans the blood, its molten core the heart. Every 12 seconds, the Earth's magnetic field ripples slightly, a rhythm so small we can't feel it, but every satellite can. NASA's Van Allen probes once recorded those ripples, showing how they stretch into space, forming invisible wings of energy. Without them, cosmic radiation would fall freely, striking everything, plants, animals, even our DNA. But because of them, we are here. It's easy to forget that protection can be silent. Sometimes scientists notice the field shifting. In the South Atlantic, there's a vast region where magnetism is weaker. They call it the South Atlantic anomaly. Their satellites flicker, and computers reboot for no reason. It's as if the field is thinning like breath, fading in one lung. They think this may be where the next magnetic reversal begins, a process that happens every few 100,000 years when North and South trade places. During those reversals, the field weakens first. Then, like a sleeping giant, it stirs, reorganizes, and reawakens with new poles. It's happened hundreds of times in Earth's history, and each time life continued. The last one was about 780,000 years ago. We may be due. The thought doesn't frighten you. It fascinates you. If a planet can forget its direction and still find a new one, maybe so can we. Outside, the sky is calm. Somewhere beyond it, solar wind races toward Earth at 600 kilometers per second. The Parker Solar Probe launched by NASA flies through that wind right now, closer to the Sun than any spacecraft has ever dared. Its instruments record magnetic waves so strong they can twist metal. Yet the spacecraft survives, protected by a shield of carbon that glows white hot. Every second, Parker sends home whispers, the same streams of charged particles that shape our auroras and shimmer through the polar night. Those lights are not just beauty. They are messages, the sun's invisible handwriting across the sky. You close your eyes. If you could listen carefully enough, you might hear that hum beneath the world. A low magnetic murmur passing through mountains, oceans, and bone. We live inside a giant dynamo, a sphere of molten metal spinning faster than the surface above it, and because it spins, it sings. Scientists call those vibrations geomagnetic pulsations, slow waves that rise and fall like a heartbeat. The next time you stand outside at night, try this. Turn off every thought. Listen, the silence isn't empty, it's alive with invisible motion. Maybe the question isn't whether the Earth's magnetic heart will stop. Maybe the real question is, would we even notice if it did? You wake to a quiet light. Not sunrise, not yet, just the pale glow that lingers when night begins to loosen its hold. Somewhere above that sky, worlds are aligning. It happens often, though we rarely notice. From the ground, the planets seem scattered tiny stars wandering their own paths. But from space, there are moments when the sun, moon, and the distant giants of our system line up like beads on an invisible thread. NASA calls these patterns planetary alignments, not magical, not mystical, but beautiful all the same. Gravity does not forget the rhythm of the cosmos. Even the smallest moon tugs the largest star by a fraction of a heartbeat. Right now, Mercury, the Moon, Earth, and Uranus drift into that slender geometry. It's not perfect alignments, rarely are, but it's close enough for NASA's Solar and Heliospheric Observatory to record a subtle change in solar wind flow. Streams of plasma, electrically charged particles from the sun, begin to move differently, guided by the combined gravity of the planets themselves. It's a reminder that space is not still. Every atom dances to invisible mathematics. When planets align, their orbits do more than shape tides. They shape light. The pull alters the sun's surface, ever so slightly stirring magnetic fields that twist and spark there. To human eyes, the sun burns steady. To instruments, it flickers like a candle in slow motion. NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory once caught an image of such a moment, dark ribbons of plasma arching thousands of kilometers high, coiling like smoke above a fire too vast to imagine. They call these arches coronal loops, and inside them the temperature can reach several million degrees. From these loops, solar flares are born, and when they erupt, they carry whispers, magnetic signatures that echo through the solar system. The DS-COVR satellite floating between Earth and Sun listens for those echoes, measuring the time it takes for charged wind to reach our world. Sometimes, when the planets align, those whispers come a little sooner, as though the geometry of the cosmos has shortened the space between breaths. Down on Earth, the alignment means something quieter. The tides rise and fall a little higher. The crust of the planet bends a little deeper. Scientists at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory have long tracked this the way the moon and sun tug not only at the oceans, but at the very rocks beneath us. They call it earth tide, a subtle swelling and sinking of solid ground measured in centimeters, but felt by none. It's humbling to imagine even the mountains breathe. They rise and fall with the sky, every stone a participant in a celestial waltz. When the sun and moon pull together, their combined force stirs the deep mantle like a slow heartbeat. Some geophysicists think this is why earthquakes often cluster around full or new moons, not caused but coaxed, as though the earth too listens when the heavens hum in unison. You step outside barefoot on cool ground. The night still carries its quiet hum. Above you, the stars feel nearer their light, gentler as if softened by the alignment itself. There's something soothing about the way the cosmos moves, not in rush or chaos, but in balance, each motion tied to another, invisible but precise. In those moments, you realize how fragile the idea of stillness is. Nothing in the universe is truly still. Even the space between atoms vibrates with possibility. Even your thoughts, drifting like tiny satellites, follow orbits of their own. You glance upward and imagine the invisible threads connecting everything, the path of Mercury tracing between the sun and Earth, the far curve of Uranus beyond the frost line, and this small breathing world suspended between them. It feels strange to belong to such a pattern, to be both infinitely small and precisely placed. NASA scientists studying heliophysics, the science of solar-planetary interaction, describe these alignments as magnetic harmonics. Each world has a magnetic signature, and when those signatures overlap, they create oscillations, vibrations that travel through the solar wind, like music through air. Our planet receives that music constantly. Sometimes it resonates with our field, sometimes it disturbs it, but always it reminds us that connection is not a metaphor, it's physics. In the early 2030s, NASA plans to launch IMAP, the Interstellar Mapping and Acceleration Probe. Its mission is to listen at the edge of the solar system where the sun's influence ends and the galactic wind begins. Their scientists hope to understand how magnetic fields from distant stars interact with our own. Perhaps the Earth's heartbeat is not isolated at all. Perhaps it's part of a larger symphony, an orchestra of magnetism spanning light years. That's the quiet miracle of science. The more we measure, the more mysterious everything becomes. For every equation that defines a field, there is a silence behind it that numbers cannot reach. You feel that silence now, the way it presses gently against your ribs, as though reminding you that you too are made of charged particles, that your body's cells speak in electrical whispers, just like the stars. Maybe that's why these alignments move something inside you. Maybe you remember somewhere deep in your bones that you were born of this same magnetic dust. You raise your head toward the horizon and quietly wonder if in all this cosmic music, your own heartbeat might be one of the notes. You sit near the window, watching the rain drift sideways across the glass. Each drop catches a glint of light, as if the air itself were carrying electricity. And in a way, it is. The air around you hums with invisible charge. Every storm, every gust of wind, every wisp of cloud is part of a grand circuit, a planetary current connecting ground to sky and sky to space. NASA scientists call it the global electric circuit, a quiet highway of energy flowing from thunderclouds to the ionosphere and back again. It's strange to think that lightning, that violent spark of light, is part of a gentle balance. Around 50 lightning strikes happen every second on Earth, each one releasing a pulse of electrons that climbs the air like a heartbeat. Those electrons race upward through layers of atmosphere so thin they almost stop being air until they reach the edge of space, the ionosphere, a realm of charged particles glowing faintly in ultraviolet light. From there, the current travels laterally circling the planet at 300,000 kilometers per second before descending again in calmer skies where fair weather fields await its return. It's a loop, a cycle, a quiet rhythm of charge and release like breathing made of light. NASA's Atmospheric Electricity Laboratory has measured these patterns for decades. They found that the current varies with the sun. When solar winds intensify, Earth's electric field grows restless. Sometimes geomagnetic storms send surges through the ionosphere, raising the potential between ground and sky to millions of volts. Yet most of the time, it's delicate balanced to a whisper. You imagine those charges flowing around you, now streaming silently through every tree, every building, every nerve in your body, because your body too runs on electricity, tiny impulses sparking between neurons, currents flowing through muscle and thought. It's easy to forget that consciousness itself is a flicker of charge. In that way, you are part of the same circuit as the sky. You are lightning in slow motion. At NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, researchers study how this current interacts with space weather. They watch the auroral electrojet, a ribbon of magnetic energy flowing through the upper atmosphere near the poles. When the sun sends a wave of plasma, a coronal mass ejection toward Earth, that jet flares like a torch. Currents stronger than any human grid flow through the ionosphere, curling along magnetic field lines that bend toward the poles. The aurora dances when that happens. To the human eye, it looks like art. To NASA's instruments, it's a vast network of electrical motion currents measured in millions of amperes moving at the speed of magnetism itself. Down here, the same forces ripple through our world. During strong geomagnetic storms, currents seep into the ground through rock, through soil, even through ocean water. They can travel hundreds of kilometers underground, inducing voltages that hum through pipelines, power lines, and the crust itself. In March 1989, a solar storm caused a blackout across Quebec. The geomagnetic currents tripped circuits, shut down transformers, and turned night into silence that stretched across a continent. It wasn't destruction, it was resonance. The planet was simply ringing louder than usual. NASA and NOAA scientists now watch for such surges daily. The DS-COVR satellite, floating 1 million miles from Earth, detects solar wind speed and direction. When the data show a magnetic field oriented southward, they know the two fields, solar and terrestrial, are about to intertwine. When they do, energy flows into our atmosphere like a deep inhalation, and the Earth exhales aurora. You close your eyes and imagine the invisible web around you. Every mountain, every sea, every cloud participates. Even when skies are calm, a gentle current flows about 2 picoamperes through every square meter of ground. That's a trillionth of the electricity in a phone charger. Yet across the whole planet, it forms a circuit of astonishing grace. NASA once called it the living breath of Earth's atmosphere. Because this current doesn't just passively exist, it responds to lightning cosmic rays. solar flares, and even human radio signals. Each event sends ripples through the electric sea we live within. It's as though the planet listens and sometimes answers. The Schumann resonances, those subtle electromagnetic tones born from lightning, vibrate through this circuit as well. They travel around the globe, trapped between Earth and ionosphere, like sound waves bouncing inside a drum. At 783 Hz, the same frequency as calm human brain waves, they hum quietly, a lullaby of physics. NASA's data show how these frequencies shift with time, rising slightly when solar activity peaks, falling when the sun rests. It's almost as if the Earth and the sun breathe together, their shared current pulsing through the sky. You can't hear it, but some part of you feels it, the subtle alignment between your inner rhythm and the world's. It's why silence under a storm feels alive, why distant thunder can sound like memory. As night deepens, you think about what it means for a planet to have a current. It's not just electricity, it's continuity, a way of saying, I am still connected. If you could trace the electrons moving above you now, you'd see them crossing oceans, slipping over continents, linking every corner of the world into one luminous network. Every forest, every antenna, every pulse of thought, all part of one slow exchange between sky and ground. And somewhere in that exchange, your heartbeat becomes a spark. The rain eases, clouds thin. You look up and see faint curtains of light at the horizon, the aurora so far yet somehow intimate. It feels like the planet blinking. And as you stand there in that quiet glow, you wonder if every flash of lightning and every spark of thought is part of the same current as awe itself, just the universe remembering what it feels like to be alive through you. You step outside after the rain and the air feels newly made. Each droplet that still clings to the leaves seems to tremble as if the world is listening to something too large to name. Above you, the clouds are thin, stretched like soft fabric across the stars. And somewhere behind them, the sky is vibrating, not a sound you can hear, not with ears, but a resonance that fills everything. NASA's Van Allen probes once captured it, the Earth's own song. They called it the chorus, a symphony of electrons moving through the planet's magnetic field. Those charged particles spiral along invisible lines, each one a note in a music made of plasma and light. When they collide, the magnetosphere rings like glass touched by a fingertip. It's a whisper of electricity, faint and endless. You tilt your head, imagining that sound, an ocean of frequencies stretching far beyond hearing. From space, it would not be silence. It would be a shimmering hum filled with rising tones that sweep upward like breath. The Themis satellites heard it first, orbiting through regions where night becomes radiation. They recorded bursts of radio waves so strong they could be translated into audio, a song no living creature ever meant to write. To NASA's instruments, those waves are called whistlers, curved notes descending through the ionosphere shaped by the geometry of the Earth's field. To you, they might sound like distant flutes played by the wind itself. The resonance builds and fades, then builds again. Sometimes it travels for thousands of miles before dying out. Sometimes it joins other waves, becoming something more complex, chorus emissions layered like harmonies. High above, where the magnetic field stretches toward space, the Parker Solar Probe listens too. It flies closer to the sun than any craft before it wrapped in carbon armor, recording how solar plasma ripples against the fields that protect our world. Those ripples, called magnetosonic waves, are pressure made of light and magnetism combined. They travel through solar wind like thunder through air. And when they reach Earth, they meet our own resonance like two voices singing in different languages, but the same emotion. NASA's Magnetospheric Multiscale Mission MMS found that when those waves collide, they create pockets where energy briefly intensifies miniature storms made of pure vibration. They last seconds, sometimes less, yet they feed auroras heat plasma and shape radiation belts. It's the quiet architecture of chaos held together by rhythm. You imagine the planet suspended inside that rhythm, a blue note glowing in a cosmic scale that no human composer could ever finish. The more you learn, the less you hear it as noise. It feels like order disguised as mystery. Perhaps every movement of the sun, every flicker of cosmic dust, adds a note to that invisible song. NASA once played those recordings publicly, converting magnetic data into audible sound. They called it the sounds of Earth's magnetosphere. The audio was eerie, haunting bursts of static that rose and fell like breathing, then faded into silence before starting again. Some said it sounded alive, some said it sounded lonely. You close your eyes and listen with imagination instead. You picture the waves moving through everything, through oceans, trees, even your own heartbeat. For a moment you realize that the resonance of the sky and the rhythm of your pulse are not strangers. Both are currents. Both are signals of life persisting through vibration. It's said that the ionosphere itself can sing back. When lightning strikes, it sends electromagnetic waves bouncing between Earth and space. They circle the planet for hours, captured by satellites and translated into what scientists call spherics, tiny bursts of radio sound that rise and fall with the frequency of storms. Every flash of lightning is a brief conversation with the heavens. Every thunderclap is the Earth answering. At the edge of the magnetosphere, the song grows louder. The Van Allen probes discovered that even empty space has texture regions, where energy waves amplify one another, creating resonant cavities like the body of a cello. When solar storms arrive, these cavities fill with radiation, and then when the storm passes, they release it again in graceful pulses. It's not destruction, it's tuning. NASA scientists once described it as the heartbeat of a protective field. Without it, the sun's radiation would strip our atmosphere bare, leaving the Earth silent forever. Instead, our sky vibrates gently, a shield made not of metal or matter, but of music. You think of all the instruments tuned to this unseen melody, the aurora shimmering in the far north, the shifting hum beneath the ground, the faint electrical waves that ripple through every living nerve. It's almost too much to hold in thought, and yet it feels natural, as if you've always known it. Perhaps that's what resonance really is, the meeting of something vast and something small that recognize each other without words. The sky vibrates, you breathe, the two align, and as the wind brushes your skin soft and electric, a quiet question forms before you can stop it. If the earth sings to keep itself alive, then what is the sound that keeps you alive? You wake to the low hum of wind outside your window. It's gentle now, only the sigh of air brushing across rooftops. But somewhere above, far beyond the blue, another wind is raging, one that never stops. The solar wind has been flowing for over 4 billion years, a river of charged particles spilling endlessly from the sun, rushing past Mercury, touching Venus, and washing over Earth before sailing outward toward Jupiter, Saturn, and the edge of interstellar dark. It's invisible, but NASA can see it. Their Parker Solar Probe is out there now, closer to the sun than any spacecraft before it, flying through the solar corona, where temperatures reach over 1,000,000 degrees. It moves faster than any object ever made by human hands, over 690,000 kilometers per hour. Yet to the probe, it feels like gliding through slow light. In the data that returns, scientists see patterns, waves and pulses, magnetism and heat intertwined. They call them Alfvén waves, ripples of plasma that move through magnetic fields like strings vibrating under tension. The sun sings through them, and the song becomes the solar wind. When that wind reaches Earth, it presses against the magnetic field, bending it like a bow, sometimes gently, sometimes violently. The result is beauty, the Aurora and Danger 2 geomagnetic storms that can surge through satellites, disrupt GPS, and black out entire regions of power grids. NASA's ACE and DS-COVIAR satellites orbit 1 million miles away to watch for that storm. They measure the direction of the magnetic field in the incoming plasma. If it tilts southward, the scientists know what will happen next. The fields will merge, and Earth will open its invisible gates to the sun. Energy will pour in. And when it does, everything changes for a while. Currents race through the upper atmosphere. Particles spiral down magnetic lines toward the poles, and the air itself begins to glow. You've seen it before, green curtains waving over northern forests, violet ribbons fluttering above snow. But the truth is deeper than color. What you're seeing is the planet's defense made visible. A conversation between two stars, one of fire, one of stone. NASA calls it space weather, but to you it feels more like the sky remembering how to breathe. There's a silence that follows strong solar storms, not absence, but stillness. After the 2003 Halloween storm, satellites recorded a strange calm in Earth's upper atmosphere, as if the planet itself had paused. The auroras that week were visible as far south as Texas and Italy, dancing where they had never been seen before. It was chaos made of light, and beneath it scientists detected something subtler, still a faint vibration deep within the magnetosphere, a plasmaspheric hiss, a whispering wave that can last for days. You wonder if the Earth ever gets tired of this, the endless push and pull, the solar tides that never rest. But maybe this is what balance means, not stillness, but motion held in harmony. NASA's global-scale observations of the LIM and DISC mission GOLD studies how these solar storms change the glow of Earth's upper air. They found that after every storm, the ionosphere ripples with new energy, creating waves that circle the planet like invisible tides. The air above you, it seems, is not just air, it's memory. A record of everything the sun has ever said to us. You close your eyes and picture the invisible storm, a golden wind racing past the moon, sliding down into the poles, painting the sky in electric silk. The thought doesn't scare you. It feels alive, like knowing that somewhere inside all this motion, you are safe because the world is still dancing. It's easy to forget that your body carries the same kind of storm in miniature. Each heartbeat sends electromagnetic waves through your tissues. Every neuron crackles like a solar flare, measured in microvolts. NASA's magnetospheric multiscale mission discovered that when two magnetic fields meet, whether in space or within plasma, they merge and release energy in bursts called magnetic reconnection. That same principle exists in you, your heart and brain syncing, reconnecting, discharging, finding rhythm again. The universe, it seems, is not just made of matter, it's made of resonance. When the sun flares, the earth responds. When the earth trembles, the magnetosphere hums. When you breathe, your pulse echoes faintly in that same electromagnetic ocean. You're part of the same choreography, a thread in the vast current that moves between light and life. There's a saying among heliophysicists, the sun never sleeps, but perhaps that isn't the whole truth. Maybe the sun does sleep, but it dreams, and its dreams drift outward as storms crossing the void until they touch your world, your oceans, your mind. You watch the sky darken again, and a soft shimmer appears at the edge of the horizon, its faint shifting like breath in color. The aurora reborn from the storm that never ends. You realize then that this storm is not an intruder. It's a heartbeat too, a reminder that the sun is alive and through it so are you. And as you stand there under the flicker of charged light, you quietly wonder if the Earth's magnetic field is its pulse and the sun's solar wind is its breath. Then which part of the universe is dreaming you right now? You close your eyes, but somewhere inside the darkness, something glows. Not bright, not enough to hurt, just a shimmer that seems to breathe. That is how light begins. Quietly, patiently, long before it ever finds your eyes. Every photon that touches you tonight began its journey billions of years ago. Some were born in the core of our sun when hydrogen atoms fused into helium, the same process that powers every heartbeat in the sky. Others came from stars that have already died, their ashes scattered through the Milky Way. The light you see tonight might be the ghost of a world that no longer exists, and yet it still arrives, steady, loyal, unstoppable. NASA once measured the age of sunlight. It takes about 170,000 years for a photon created in the sun's core to bounce its way to the surface, then just 8 minutes more to cross the void and touch Earth. 8 minutes after thousands of centuries trapped in a storm of plasma. By the time that beam of light reaches you, the atoms that created it are long gone, but the light remembers. You wonder, can light carry memory? Scientists don't use that word. They say light carries information. Every wavelength encodes the temperature, motion, and chemistry of its source. When NASA's James Webb Space Telescope looks deep into the cosmos, it's not seeing the present, it's reading ancient messages made of photons. Some of those photons left their galaxies over 13.5 billion years ago, when the universe was still wrapped in its first dawn. Webb's infrared sensors catch those whispers stretched by time itself. That stretching is called redshift, the universe's way of turning light into memory. In one image from NASA's archives, a single patch of sky smaller than a grain of sand held at arm's length contains thousands of galaxies, each one glowing with the faint light of long-gone suns. Looking at it feels less like seeing and more like remembering something vast. And in a way you are, because your eyes, your skin, even your cells, they all came from atoms forged in ancient starlight. You are a constellation wearing human form. Every breath you take is part of the cosmic recycling system NASA calls the stellar life cycle, hydrogen to star-star to supernova to dust to life. And then life looks up and wonders where it came from. You could say the universe is still thinking about itself through you. Some nights the sky feels endless, but NASA's Cosmic Background Explorer once detected something even older than the oldest stars, a faint microwave hum left over from the Big Bang. They called it the Cosmic Microwave Background, or CMB. It's everywhere, even inside this room, even between your thoughts. The CMB is 13.8 billion years old. It's the echo of the first light, the universe's own baby picture. When you hear static on an old analog TV, a fraction of that noise comes from those ancient photons still washing through Earth. A memory older than galaxies, whispering quietly through static. Imagine that you sitting in the dark, a creature made of atoms that once burned in stars, listening without knowing to the leftover light from creation itself. NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory studies the opposite end of that spectrum, the brightest, hottest light in the universe. It peers into the hearts of supernovae and black holes, places where gravity bends light into silence. From there, scientists learned that even light can be trapped, but never destroyed. It stretches, slows, bends, but it never forgets where it came from. Perhaps that's why when you stare into the night sky, it feels a little like looking into the past, because it is. Every star you see is a memory in motion. Even the closest one, Proxima Centauri, shines at you from 4.2 years ago. If it disappeared tonight, you wouldn't know until mid-2029. The universe hides nothing. It just tells its stories slowly. Light has another secret. It's how the universe keeps time. NASA's Deep Space Atomic Clock uses light waves to measure time so precisely that it could stay accurate to within a second for millions of years. Every pulse of light marks a rhythm, a cosmic heartbeat. From those rhythms, spacecraft navigate, stars evolve, and atoms align. You too live by that rhythm. Your circadian cycle, the pattern of waking and sleep, syncs to sunlight, the soft conversation between biology and photons. When light fades, your brain releases melatonin, that quiet chemical that invites rest. The same light that once burst from the heart of a star now tells your body when it's time to dream. And perhaps that's what sleep really is, a way for life to remember the rhythm of the cosmos. You breathe slowly now. Outside, the night air glows faintly with scattered starlight. Above you in low Earth orbit, NASA's Hubble Space Telescope still drifts, taking long exposures of galaxies so far away that their light began before Earth even had oceans. Each image is not just data, it's evidence that memory can travel at the speed of light. Scientists say that when a photon hits your retina, it transfers its energy to an electron, a small, almost imperceptible handoff. Energy becomes perception, memory becomes sight, the ancient becomes the present. It's strange, isn't it, that everything you see is already gone, that every glimmer is a letter written billions of years ago, now unfolding silently across your vision. And yet this is how the universe speaks, not in sound, but in brightness. Somewhere a star you'll never know is dying. Somewhere else a newborn star is igniting for the first time. And between them here you sit, a tiny observer made of the same fire, catching their light and turning it into thought. Maybe that's the secret the photons carry, not just memory, but connection. Light doesn't belong to the stars. It belongs to everything it touches. It's the thread that weaves atoms into matter, matter into worlds, worlds into awareness. NASA once described light as both wave and particle, a paradox that refuses to choose. Maybe that's what we are too, not one thing or another, but both waves of memory, particles of possibility. You breathe in. Somewhere above the clouds, satellites shimmer in orbit, their panels catching sunlight that has crossed millions of kilometers just to find them. You breathe out, and in that small exchange, oxygen for carbon, dark for light, you become part of the same rhythm that powers stars. It's quiet now, but the quiet is not empty. It's full of echoes. The memory of light lingers in everything, in glass, in air, in your pulse. Even now, photons born before humanity still pass through you, leaving no mark except the faintest warmth. You'll never feel them, but they are there, old travelers who never stopped moving. And as you drift closer to sleep, one thought lingers in the gentle hum of your mind: if every ray of light carries memory, then when your eyes finally close, what memories of you will light carry into tomorrow? You lie still, but inside you entire cities are awake. They hum without sound, no factories, no lights, only motion. Tiny builders, tireless and unseen, are weaving the fabric of your life back together. Every second, millions of cells are dividing. Some replace skin you lost an hour ago. Others patch the lining of your lungs, rebuild the surface of your heart, or craft new neurons in secret corners of your brain. These are the silent builders, the repairmen of life, and their tools are made of molecules, memory, and time. NASA once said that the human body, much like a planet, is a system of self-regulating orbits. Energy flows, material cycles, feedback loops. Every atom dances within invisible laws. What the cosmos does on a cosmic scale, your body repeats in miniature energy collapse renewal. Inside your bloodstream, a single red blood cell travels roughly 250,000 circuits in its short lifespan. It carries oxygen forged in a star's heart, diffuses it into your tissues, then returns home exhausted but faithful to dissolve in your spleen. Before it disappears, your marrow has already built a replacement, a quiet relay race that has never stopped since you were born. And just as planets orbit suns, your cells orbit a constant rhythm: repair, replace, repeat. In the language of biologists, this rhythm is called homeostasis. In the language of wonder, it means you are always rebuilding yourself. If you could zoom inside a single cell, you would see a universe in miniature. There are highways made of microtubules, tiny cargo ships called motor proteins carrying vesicles of nutrients. There are factories, the ribosomes printing chains of amino acids that fold into the shapes of enzymes. Each enzyme is a tool a craftsman built to fix a very specific piece of the human puzzle. And all of it runs on power, not from sunlight directly, but from a spark captured long ago. Every heartbeat, every thought, every breath draws on ancient energy stored in adenosine triphosphate, ATP, the molecular battery of life. It is created in your mitochondria, once free bacteria that found a home inside early cells billions of years ago. They became partners, then family. Even now, they still carry traces of their independence, their own DNA, their own memories. NASA's astrobiologists often say, if life exists elsewhere, it must make energy the way we do through gradients, through flow. It's a poetic idea that across galaxies, life would still hum in cycles of charge and exchange the same rhythm your mitochondria keep tonight. Some of your cells are eternal. The neurons that hold your oldest memories may stay with you for decades, whispering across synapses that fire with tiny sparks of electricity. Those sparks are your personal starlight, microscopic flashes that tell you who you are. Each one lasts only milliseconds, yet the pattern they create can shape an entire lifetime. Meanwhile, in your liver, regeneration never stops. It can lose 2/3 of its mass and still rebuild itself, guided by chemical signals that behave like tiny engineers calling for new blueprints. Skin, too, renews itself every few weeks, a constant cycle of birth, death, and rebirth that keeps you intact against the chaos of the world. If you could hear your body, it would not sound like a heartbeat. It would sound like the faint, steady crackle of work, a trillion molecular hammers tapping quietly in rhythm. And all this happens while you sleep. When NASA studies astronauts aboard the International Space Station, they find something curious. Without gravity, the body's builders become confused. muscles weaken, bones lose calcium, and even blood redistributes in strange ways. So astronauts train not only to survive space, but to remind their cells what down feels like, because your body is a creature of Earth's pull. Its builders learned their craft under the whisper of gravity. At night, when you sink into rest, gravity remains your silent architect. Blood slows, the lymphatic system clears away waste, a hidden sanitation crew. The brain itself enters a cycle of cleansing called the glymphatic system, where cerebrospinal fluid washes through neural tissue like a tide. This is when your mind repairs itself. Memories are sorted, unnecessary connections pruned, new ones strengthened. Each dream may be the echo of that reorganization, a quiet flicker of data being stored for morning. Sleep scientists say is not a pause. It is a construction shift, a rebuilding of the self beneath the surface. And even in perfect stillness, the architecture continues. Beneath the skin, stem cells wait like seeds ready to become whatever is needed, bone, muscle, blood, or neuron. They hold no fixed identity, only possibility. Somewhere inside you right now, one may be deciding what to become next. That quiet decision will never make a sound, but it will change you forever. The process is ancient, yet beautifully fragile. Radiation from the sun, the same light that sustains you, can also fracture DNA. But your cells are prepared for that too. Tiny enzymes patrol your chromosomes, scanning for damage, stitching broken strands back together. They work without sleep, without applause, correcting billions of molecular errors each day. You'll never thank them, but without them, you'd last only moments. It's strange to think that while you lie there drifting toward rest, a whole civilization within you is busy saving your life. Each heartbeat pumps more than blood. It delivers instructions. Each breath fuels 1,000 fires in microscopic furnaces. You are in every measurable way a moving miracle of repair. Even the atoms doing the work are temporary. Most of the carbon in your body will one day leave exhaled, shed returned to soil. And yet the pattern remains. It's as if life doesn't care about the parts, only the song they know how to play. When NASA simulates closed ecosystems like those aboard Artemis or Gateway, they mirror this same truth. Oxygen becomes carbon dioxide, carbon becomes oxygen again, waste becomes food. A perfect loop. Your body follows the same equation, nothing wasted, nothing lost, only transformation. You are made of systems that learned long before consciousness how to last. Even in deep sleep, when you feel most still, energy ripples through you like invisible aurorae. Neurons fire, muscles twitch, the heart keeps its rhythm. In that rhythm lies the ancient partnership between chaos and order, the agreement that keeps you alive. Outside, the night stretches quiet, but if you could see what science sees, you'd realize the calm is only on the surface. Inside, you billions of lights are flickering, not with flame, but with life. Each flicker is a repair, a renewal, a promise that tomorrow you will still be here. The storm may rage in your mind, the world may roar outside your walls, but your builders never stop. They do not sleep, they dream for you. And when morning comes, every breath you take will be proof that they succeeded again. You exist inside a rhythm. It is older than your heartbeat, older than your breath, older even than the sun that rises for you each morning. It is time not as numbers or clocks, but as movement, a soft weaving of darkness and light. From the instant Earth began to spin, time became a kind of pulse, 24 hours of turning, and everything that ever lived learned to sway with that rotation, oceans, forests, bacteria, you. Even before eyes existed to see light, cells already knew how to feel it. They could sense when day was coming and when the world was about to rest. Inside you, that ancient sensitivity still beats. It's guided by a cluster of neurons deep within your brain, right above the crossing of your optic nerves. Scientists call it the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN, the body's master clock. Tiny as a grain of rice, yet it coordinates the rhythm of trillions of cells. Each cell keeps its own time, but the SCN makes them sing together. Every morning when sunlight touches your eyes, light travels through a narrow channel of nerves and reaches the SCN. Instantly, it resets the internal day. Your brain releases cortisol, the wakeful hormone. Your heart quickens, blood pressure rises slightly, a quiet reminder that a new cycle has begun. By night, as the light fades, another messenger, melatonin, begins to flow, asking your body to slow down. Day and night exchange hands in perfect choreography, as though you were a dancer partnered with the sky. NASA studies this rhythm not only on Earth, but in orbit. Aboard the International Space Station, astronauts witness 16 sunrises and sunsets every Earth day. Without the planet's slow rotation to guide them, their circadian rhythms blur. So, Mission Control provides artificial sun cycles, 12 hours of light, 12 of shadow, to anchor the body's clock. Even in space, the human rhythm remembers where it came from. Time for your body isn't counted in minutes, but in chemistry. Every organ follows its own pattern. Your liver works hardest in the afternoon, digesting the world you've given it. Your lungs expand most efficiently just before sunset. Your brain clears waste best while you dream. If you shift these cycles too often, you feel the ache of jet lag, that brief confusion between your inner cosmos and the outer one. It is, in a sense, two universes falling out of sync, your body and your planet. Scientists call this internal architecture the circadian rhythm, from the Latin circadium, about a day. But beyond it, there are other clocks, ultradian rhythms, that govern shorter waves like heartbeats and breathing, and infradian ones that follow the long arcs of months or seasons. Together, they weave the tapestry of your existence, short threads, long threads, all part of the same pattern. NASA's chronobiology program once mapped how these rhythms change in space. Without sunrise, melatonin levels dropped by half. Astronauts reported vivid dreams and restless sleep until their light cycles were adjusted. Even in microgravity, the mind still reaches for dusk and dawn. It's proof that humans carry the planet's rotation inside them, a memory of home encoded in the blood. Every creature keeps time differently. Plants unfurl leaves before dawn, guided by proteins that sense blue light. Coral reefs spawn on the same lunar nights every year. In the deep sea, where sunlight never reaches, fish rely on the pull of tides, another clock written in the language of the moon. Time is not a straight line, it's a web, each life vibrating to its own thread. You too are woven into that web. Your DNA holds clock genes, molecular switches that rise and fall in expression every few hours. They control when you feel hungry, when your body repairs itself, when you dream. And like music, they rely on repetition to make meaning. Without rhythm, there is only noise. Sometimes you feel out of time nights that stretch endlessly, mornings that arrive too soon. But the truth is, your body is never lost. It is simply waiting for the world to fall back into tempo. The light outside may change, but deep within, a gentler clock still ticks, unhurried, patient, eternal. The way Earth moves through space also shapes this rhythm. Its axial tilt gives us seasons longer light, shorter dark. NASA satellites measure how sunlight touches the planet unevenly, how it shifts north to south each year. When light patterns change, your biology listens. Winter tells your pineal gland to produce more melatonin, urging hibernation, reflection, stillness. Summer signals awakening. You are quite literally a creature of orbit. In 2019, NASA's Parker Solar Probe recorded fluctuations in the solar wind waves of charged particles streaming from the sun at hundreds of kilometers per second. Those waves, too, have rhythm-pulsing magnetic fields that resonate with Earth's own. They modulate the ionosphere, shifting how radio waves travel, how auroras glow. The universe itself breathes in patterns, and somehow those patterns reach you. When you feel a sudden calm at dusk or a hush before dawn, it isn't imagination. It's alignment. Your neurons, your heart, even the bacteria in your gut sense the transition of light. They whisper to one another in the molecular language of timing, and when all of them agree, you feel it as peace. You might think of yourself as moving through time, but science suggests something softer. Time moves through you. Every cell marks its passage not by counting, but by changing. DNA unwinds, proteins unfold, ions drift each one, keeping rhythm with the spin of the world. And when you finally drift to sleep, your inner clocks don't stop. They reset the body for morning, lowering temperature, slowing pulse, releasing hormones that mend and restore. In the darkness, your cells rehearse tomorrow. There is something beautiful about that, the idea that while you rest, the universe rehearses with you. Stars spin, waves move, auroras shimmer, and somewhere in the stillness your body hums the same quiet tune. It's the rhythm that carried the first heartbeat, the first sunrise, the first dream. It has never been broken, only passed from one dawn to the next. And so tonight, as you feel yourself fading into the comfort of sleep, remember this: you are not leaving the world behind. You are joining it, falling back into its pulse, its gravity, its rhythm. The same rhythm that turns the tides, spins the planets, and keeps the galaxies breathing in their endless, silent time. You wake each day as someone slightly new. You don't feel it, not in a way that can be measured by mirrors or memory, but deep inside your brain is never the same twice. It rebuilds itself quietly like tides smoothing sand moment after moment, thought after thought. Scientists call this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reshape its own connections. Every experience, every sound, every gentle moment of awareness rewires the web of neurons that form who you are. What you remember, what you forget, how you love, how you rest, all of it is written in shifting patterns of electricity. Each neuron is a small, radiant tree. Its branches, the dendrites, reach toward others, sending and receiving sparks of chemical light. When two neurons communicate often, their connection strengthens. When they fall silent, it fades. This is the quiet arithmetic of memory. The idea once seemed impossible. For decades, scientists believed the adult brain was fixed, that it grew like stone solid and unchanging after youth. But then came evidence that neurons could form new synapses, new roads between thoughts. And when one road breaks, the mind can build another. It doesn't give up, it reroutes. In a NASA study of astronauts returning from space, scientists observed a strange transformation. After months of floating in zero gravity, the structure of their brains had subtly shifted. Regions responsible for balance and spatial awareness had reorganized, adapting to a world where up and down no longer existed. When they returned to Earth, Their brains adjusted again, relearning gravity like a language remembered from childhood. Even among the stars, the mind was listening, changing, evolving. You carry that same power. Each time you learn, your neurons fire in rhythm, releasing neurotransmitters, dopamine, glutamate, serotonin molecules that tell your brain this matters, keep this. Repetition carves pathways, rest solidifies them. That's why sleep is essential for memory. During the deep phases of slumber, your brain replays the day's patterns, strengthening what it chooses to keep erasing what it no longer needs. Dreams may be the soft echoes of that editing a story your neurons tell each other in code. In a way, you are always dreaming, even awake. Your perception is never raw, it's interpretation. The brain doesn't see light directly, it builds an image from electrical whispers. It doesn't hear sound, it translates vibrations into rhythm. Reality as you know it is a masterpiece of constant reconstruction. There's something comforting in that, isn't there? The idea that your mind is both the architect and the house. That you're never trapped inside who you were yesterday, you're rebuilding molecule by molecule, thought by thought. Neuroscientists at the University of California once recorded this in real time. They watched neurons grow new spines within hours of learning. Each spine a bridge between cells, each bridge a possibility. Learning is not stored, it is shaped alive, flexible, dissolving, and forming again. Your memories live in this architecture of change. Some are strong, reinforced by emotion. When you recall a loved one's voice, the same pattern of neurons lights up as when you first heard it. Emotion writes its messages in chemical ink, and the stronger the feeling, the deeper the trace. But even memories fade, not because they die, but because your mind must keep making room for the new. Forgetting is not failure, it's a kind of mercy. NASA scientists studying artificial neural networks machines inspired by the brain have found that forgetting is essential to intelligence. A system that never forgets cannot adapt. It drowns in noise. So the brain's rhythm of remembering and letting go may be the secret to staying alive in a world that keeps changing. Inside your head, over 86 billion neurons communicate across more than 100 trillion connections. Each one flickers at speeds of milliseconds, yet together they create consciousness, the soft presence that says, I am here. No telescope, no microscope, no machine has ever fully captured what that feels like. But your brain does it effortlessly every second. Even now as you listen, your neurons synchronize with the flow of words mapping language to rhythm to calm. Your prefrontal cortex quiets. Your limbic system, the seat of emotion, releases warmth. Science can measure the chemistry of comfort, but not its grace. When you walk through a familiar street, your hippocampus lights up with recognition. When you stand before the ocean, the default mode network in your brain begins to wander the circuitry of imagination. It's the same network that activates when you daydream or drift towards sleep. That wandering is not aimless. It's your brain's way of testing possibilities, rearranging the world into meaning. And perhaps that is why the mind feels both fragile and infinite, because it is constantly dissolving the past and remaking itself from memory and hope. In 2022, researchers at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory used adaptive algorithms modeled on neural plasticity to help spacecraft autonomously navigate the solar system. The machine learned from its own errors, reweighted its signals, rewrote its rules. It was, in essence, thinking the way you do, adjusting to survive. Your brain has been doing that for millions of years. Every scar, every adaptation, every quiet resilience is proof. Sometimes healing feels invisible. A trauma fades, not because you forget it, but because your mind builds new paths around it. New neurons take over where the damaged ones can't. The emotion remains, but the pain changes shape, no longer sharp, but smooth. That too is neuroplasticity, the mind forgiving itself through architecture. When you sleep, your brain's landscape shifts again. Synapses that burned too brightly during the day are pruned. Weaker connections are trimmed to make room for clarity. Your brain is gardening, removing weeds of noise so that meaning can bloom again. By morning, you are lighter, quieter, new. This, NASA says, is the same principle that governs the cosmos: entropy and order, destruction and renewal. Stars collapse to build heavier elements. Neurons disconnect to form better networks. Creation always requires release. You don't have to try to change, your brain is doing it for you. You are the storm and the calm, the circuit and the silence. You are both signal and space. And if you ever feel stuck, remember this: nothing inside you is truly still. Even your thoughts leave trails of light in the dark, chemical, electrical, eternal. They will fade and return and reshape you again. Somewhere deep within your brain hums its private song, a symphony without sound, a rhythm without conductor. And as you drift towards sleep, that quiet orchestra plays on. Each pulse, each wave a reminder that even in stillness, you are always becoming. You are never truly alone. Even in silence, even in sleep, even in the stillness between breaths, you are shared. Within you, trillions of tiny lives stir. They do not think, yet they decide. They do not speak, yet they shape every word you will ever say. Scientists call them the microbiome, the invisible ecosystems that live inside and around you. Bacteria, fungi, viruses, archaea, tiny citizens of your gut, your skin, your lungs, your mouth. Together, they outnumber your human cells by nearly 10 to 1. If you could gather them all, they would weigh almost the same as your brain, and perhaps in their own quiet way, they are part of your brain. When NASA first studied the human microbiome in space, they discovered something astonishing in microgravity. Microbes behave differently. Some grow faster, others become dormant, some shift their genetic expression, adapting to the stillness of orbit. Astronauts carry their microbial worlds with them like invisible constellations, each species a star in its own small galaxy. The human body, NASA said, is not a single organism, but a symbiotic universe. Every time you breathe, you inhale millions of microscopic travelers. Some will leave, some will stay. They are older than humanity, older than the continents. Long before plants made oxygen, microbes were already here, shaping the atmosphere, building the foundation for everything alive. Life on Earth began with them, and even now they write the rules for how life continues. Inside your gut, more than 100 trillion bacteria form what scientists call the enteric nervous system, the second brain. It communicates directly with your real brain through the vagus nerve, sending electrical and chemical messages that affect emotion, immunity, and even dreams. When you feel calm after a warm meal, it's not just comfort, it's conversation. Tiny lives whispering to your nervous system, all is well. Each microbe plays a part. Some break down fiber into nutrients. Others train your immune cells to recognize friend from foe. They produce vitamins your body cannot make on its own, and hormones like serotonin, which shapes mood and sleep. Almost 90% of serotonin is produced in your gut, a fact so strange it sounds poetic: happiness born in darkness. The gut is not just a tube, it is a rainforest, a dense humming jungle of interdependence. Each species grows only because others exist beside it. When balance holds, you feel harmony, energy, focus, peace. When the balance breaks, the forest falls silent, fatigue, inflammation, anxiety. Healing begins not with destruction, but with restoration, replanting what was lost. NASA learned this truth the hard way. In space without gravity, digestion slows, microbes shift, immunity weakens. Astronauts on the International Space Station must protect their microbiome, carefully eating nutrient-dense food designed to keep those inner ecosystems alive. Because in the emptiness of orbit, survival depends on cooperation between humans, between machines, and between the trillions of invisible beings that live within. You might think of your microbiome as a memory of Earth. Each breath, each seed, each drop of rain that touched your ancestors carried microbes, tiny messengers that traveled from soil to skin to blood to birth. In your DNA and in your microbiota lives an ancient dialogue, a partnership so old it can no longer be separated. You are the latest verse in a conversation that began billions of years ago when the first bacterium traded energy with sunlight. Science once thought of microbes only as invaders, enemies to fight. But now we know without them we cannot exist. They digest, protect, rebuild, evolve. They speak through chemistry, weaving your health like a tapestry. When you sleep, they work in rhythm with your body's own cycles. They feast when you rest. They produce short-chain fatty acids that heal your intestines. They signal the liver to restore glucose, and they help regulate melatonin production, preparing your mind for dreams. In the dark, as your thoughts quiet, a quieter world begins its labor. If you could magnify yourself 1,000,000 times, you would see rivers of bacteria drifting through your intestines, clustering, dividing, communicating in bursts of bioluminescent language, a living cosmos beneath your skin. Each microbial colony behaves like a city. There are workers, messengers, builders, and guards. When an intruder arrives, a virus, a toxin, a broken cell, they send out chemical alarms, summoning your immune system to respond. It's a collaboration so seamless that neither side could tell where you end and they begin. The boundary between human and non-human blurs there in the silence of digestion, in the warmth of your core. You are not a single story. You are a collection of voices. And somehow, through them, consciousness emerges, the orchestra of life playing one song. NASA's microbiologists sometimes speak of planetary hygiene, the careful balance between introducing Earth's microbes to other worlds and protecting Earth from whatever might be out there. Every spacecraft is sterilized, every rover purified. Yet when they land, they carry traces of us, the smallest pieces of Earth's microbiome, whispering into alien dust, "We were here." Even the Perseverance rover that landed on Mars in 2021 was sterilized to prevent cross-contamination. Still within its sealed layers, there might remain a handful of dormant microbes, tiny stowaways from Earth's deep history. If they survive, they will become the first living Earthlings to touch another planet. And if life exists there already, perhaps it too is made of small builders and dreamers. The story of microbes is the story of persistence. They survive boiling vents, frozen ice radiation strong enough to split atoms. They can sleep for centuries waiting for warmth. In 2000, scientists revived bacteria trapped in salt crystals for 250 million years, older than mammals, older than mountains. And when they woke, they remembered how to live. You carry their descendants now in every breath, every cell, every heartbeat. Their endurance is your inheritance. When you heal, it is because they heal with you. When you eat, they sing. When you sleep, they build. You may never hear them, but they are the architects of peace within chaos, the quiet intelligence that keeps the body whole. Outside, the night remains still. Inside, an ancient civilization works in silence, and when morning comes, they will greet the first light long before you do 1 billion invisible suns rising beneath your skin. You touch it every day, but you never truly see it. You drink it, wash in it, watch it fall from the sky, yet you forget that water remembers. Not as humans do with images or words, but as vibration, a memory of motion, of energy, of light. NASA calls water the archivist of planets. Everywhere it exists, it keeps a record in vapor and ice, in oceans and comets of what the universe once was. On Mars, thin streams etched into dust whisper that rivers once ran there. In the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, Europa and Enceladus, ocean worlds, shimmer beneath crusts of ice. The Cassini spacecraft, before diving into Saturn's atmosphere, tasted the spray from Enceladus and found something extraordinary: salt water, methane, organic molecules, the ingredients of life. NASA's James Webb Space Telescope has since confirmed that water exists even around distant exoplanets, vapor swirling like blue ghosts in alien skies. Wherever light travels, water follows as if it were chasing memory itself. You too are made of this memory. More than 70% of your body is water. Every drop you drink may have once drifted through the lungs of another creature, fallen from a star's vapor, or frozen in the tail of a comet. The atoms in your blood have traveled farther than any human spacecraft. They have seen suns rise and die, oceans freeze and thaw, planets form and fall away. You are, in the most literal sense, the ocean remembering itself. When scientists at NASA study water, they see a shapeshifter, solid liquid vapor, but also a messenger. On the moon, the Sophia Observatory detected molecular water hiding within grains of dust where sunlight cannot reach. Each molecule is fragile, fleeting, yet together they carve the fingerprints of time. Even on Earth, water carries a strange intelligence. It doesn't just flow, it organizes. When cooled, it expands a small defiance of physics that allows ice to float, keeping oceans alive in winter. It forms hexagons in snowflakes, spirals in hurricanes, waves in light itself. In 2018, researchers discovered that water molecules can tunnel between states, a quantum behavior once thought impossible for something so common. At the atomic level, each molecule is in constant motion, flickering between possibilities. Perhaps that's why water feels alive, because it never truly stands still. You might think of it as a nervous system for the planet. Rain carries messages between ocean and forest. Evaporation lifts heat, balancing weather, while rivers connect mountains to the sea. Inside your body, it performs the same miracle. It carries oxygen, nutrients, memories of warmth. It flows through neurons, allowing thoughts to spark, and through your heart, allowing rhythm to continue. Even your tears hold echoes of the sea. Their salt content is almost identical to Earth's ancient oceans. When you cry, the planet grieves with you, a quiet reunion of waters once separated. In 2022, NASA's OSIRIS-REx mission found hydrated minerals on asteroid Bennu, tiny crystals that formed in the presence of water long before Earth existed. It suggests that the oceans here were delivered by comets and asteroids, carriers of liquid memory. The first rain may have fallen from the sky as stone turned to vapor, and in that storm, the world began to dream. Imagine it, Earth's crust, still glowing meteorites hissing as they strike molten plains, releasing vapor that condenses into clouds. Then rain, the first soft sound of life. Billions of years later, that same water runs through you, through every cell, every heartbeat, every dream. The same molecules that cooled volcanic rock now cool your skin. The same hydrogen forged in the birth of the universe still moves quietly through your veins. Water, in its simplicity, holds the complexity of everything. When scientists observe how it behaves near proteins, they find that its structure changes with emotion, temperature, sound. It arranges itself differently around living matter as if listening, not in superstition, but in pattern, in the geometry of response. And when you whisper to it, even unconsciously, perhaps it reflects you. Calmness makes it still. Anger makes it vibrate. It is the mirror that does not judge. NASA once trained its instruments on Earth, turning satellites inward instead of outward. They saw rivers glowing under moonlight ice caps, breathing with the season's storm systems, spinning like the heart's pulse. They called it the Water Planet Portrait, and in that moment, the scientists realized the most extraordinary world we've found is our own. You are part of that portrait. Every sip, every tear, every drop of sweat returns to the same cycle, evaporating, condensing, falling again. You are born from the cloud and return to it, an endless migration between earth and sky. Sometimes when you feel heavy, remember you are mostly liquid. You are meant to flow. The same water that carved canyons and carried ships moves softly through your hands now. The same molecule that shimmered on Enceladus lies still on your tongue. The same element that cooled the newborn earth fills your lungs as you breathe in the night. And as you sleep tonight, your body will continue to move that ocean within. Your heart will pump it through the veins like tides. Your cells will exchange it, purify it, share it. You will carry ancient seas into tomorrow, a living memory that outlasts stone, air, and light. Water will remember you too, not by name but by rhythm, by the way your molecules once danced with its own, by the warmth you gave it when you lived. Perhaps that's the true immortality, to be part of something that never dies, that only changes form, that keeps singing the story of existence in a language only silence understands. So rest quietly and let the water remember. It will carry you where you need to go. It always has. You are older than you think. Not just older than your memories or your name, but older than the earth itself. Every atom in your body was once part of a star. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the oxygen in your lungs, all forged in the hearts of suns that lived, burned, and died long before your world existed. When NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory looks at supernovae, it sees ghostly clouds expanding at 10,000 kilometers per second, beautiful remnants of destruction scattering the ingredients of life across the galaxy. Hydrogen and helium born from the Big Bang were never enough. It took the deaths of stars to make everything else: carbon, nitrogen, iron, gold. You are not made from starlight. You are made from what stars leave behind. Long before the oceans formed, before mountains rose, before the moon pulled tides from molten seas, there were only these drifting ashes, cosmic dust, wandering through cold space. Then, drawn by gravity, they began to gather. A swirl became a storm became a sun. Around that sun, your sun, tiny grains of stardust collided and fused, forming the first stones, then worlds. Every planet in the solar system, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and the fragile blue one you call home, was born from that same storm of debris. You are literally built from the remains of collapsed stars, stitched together by gravity and time. NASA's Genesis mission collected particles of the solar wind fragments of our sun's own breath to compare them with Earth's elements. They found a near-perfect match, as if confirming a cosmic truth whispered across billions of years, that the line between the sky and you is thinner than we've ever imagined. When you breathe, you inhale the same oxygen that once lit ancient stars. When you cry, your tears contain hydrogen older than galaxies. Every heartbeat echoes a supernova that ended eons ago. You are not beneath the universe, you are the universe remembering itself. In 2019, the Sophia Observatory discovered stardust drifting in the interstellar medium silicate grains identical to those found in human bone. We carry the same geometry, the same patterns of survival. When you look at your hand, you are looking at an echo of a nebula. And when you sleep, your brain waves mirror the magnetic oscillations of stars, slow rhythmic pulses recorded by NASA's Kepler Space Telescope. Some neuroscientists call it poetic coincidence. Others suspect it's deeper, that life's patterns are simply the universe repeating itself in smaller and smaller scales. Your atoms are restless travelers. In a single breath, you may inhale molecules that once belonged to Cleopatra or a coral reef or a comet. Matter never disappears. It only changes form. You are not permanent, but you are continuous, a ripple in an infinite ocean of transformation. In the quiet of space, NASA's Voyager 1, now more than 24 billion kilometers away, still carries traces of that same stardust. Its golden record, etched with the sounds of Earth, travels through a sea of particles older than time itself. When its signal reaches home, it hums through our atmosphere like a ghost returning to light. And in that hum, scientists can still read the language of atoms, the code of creation you and I both share. Somewhere deep within your bones, uranium atoms decay, a process that began before the solar system was born. The warmth of your blood, the energy in your muscles, the spark in your eyes, all of it powered by ancient fusion reactions that once raged in stellar cores. Every human heartbeat is a descendant of fire. There's something profoundly gentle about that thought, that violence birthed beauty, that collapse gave rise to consciousness. Stars had to die so that you could exist, and you in turn will one day return that gift. When you exhale, you send carbon back into the air. When your body fades, your atoms will drift again into soil, into roots, into clouds. And someday, far from now, they might burn once more in the belly of another sun. In that way, death is only a change of form. Energy cannot be destroyed. It only changes who it belongs to. NASA's Astromaterials Research Center once found amino acids locked in meteorites older than Earth, the first seeds of biology carried across space. It means that the building blocks of life don't belong to us alone. They belong to the cosmos itself. You might wonder, if the universe built us from its dust, does it also dream through us? When you close your eyes and imagine stars, perhaps you are simply remembering what you once were. Look up sometime when the night is clear. The light from Vega takes 25 years to reach you. The light from Deneb, 2,600 years. Every photon that touches your eye tonight began its journey before you were born, before your parents met, before language had a word for wonder. And still it found you. Even the darkness between those stars is not empty. NASA's James Webb Telescope revealed faint galaxies from when the universe was only 300 million years old. Each one burning with young suns, each one creating more dust, the raw material for worlds not yet imagined. Perhaps somewhere out there, another creature stares up at its own sky made from the same scattered atoms as you, wondering the same thing. What am I made of? And perhaps in some delicate, unseen way, your thoughts ripple through the same fabric, a resonance between dust and dream. When you sleep tonight, your cells will continue their quiet work, repairing, dividing, glowing faintly like nebulae. Your breath will rise and fall like tides. Your atoms will hum softly with the vibration of creation. You won't notice, but the universe will, because you are its memory and its miracle. The stars do not look down on you. They look through you. They recognize what they made. Light was the first language of the universe. Before sound, before time, before the idea of beginning had meaning, there was light. And yet, for all its brilliance, light has always needed shadow. Without darkness, it cannot be seen. Without silence, it cannot be heard. You exist somewhere between the two, half made of illumination, half made of mystery. NASA's Parker Solar Probe once dove closer to the sun than any human creation before it, brushing the edge of the corona, where temperatures soar to more than 1,000,000 degrees. What it found wasn't chaos, but rhythm waves of plasma rising and falling like breath. Even light, it seems, moves to a heartbeat. Light is not just what you see, it is what makes seeing possible. Each photon is both a wave and a particle, a paradox that physics still can't fully explain. At the quantum level, light behaves as if it knows when it's being watched, an elegant strangeness known as the observer effect. In the lab, scientists send photons through two narrow slits, expecting them to scatter like sand. But when unobserved, they interfere like ripples on water. When observed, they change. It's as if the universe blushes under attention. And you too are made of such contradictions matter that behaves like light and light that behaves like memory. Every cell in your body emits tiny flashes of biophotons, whispers of energy released by life itself. You glow even in the dark. NASA's Hubble Space Telescope has captured galaxies so far away that their light began its journey before Earth existed. Each photon that reaches your eye tonight has traveled billions of years to meet you, dodging dust, bending around gravity, carrying with it the story of everything that ever was. You are the final destination of ancient light. And still there is so much we cannot see. More than 95% of the universe is invisible dark matter and dark energy, a cosmic fabric that neither emits nor reflects light, but shapes the stars themselves. We move through this hidden ocean without feeling it, like fish, unaware of water. When NASA's James Webb Telescope opened its golden mirrors to the cosmos, it saw further than light should allow, past galaxies stretched and reddened by time. Each photon Webb caught was an echo from the edge of the beginning, a faint shimmer from when the universe was only a few 100 million years old. That's the power of darkness. It holds memory, and through it light becomes eternal. Even on Earth, shadows teach light how to live. The shade of trees lets forests breathe. The night cools the oceans, lets the planet rest, lets you dream. You are in a sense a creature of contrast. Every joy you've known was once framed by stillness. Every sunrise only mattered because of night. Inside your eyes, light becomes electricity. Photons strike the retina, turning into signals that your brain translates into color. But the world itself has no color. Red, blue, gold. These are interpretations created entirely by the mind. Light is truth, but color is the story you tell yourself about it. NASA calls this perceptual filtering, the way astronauts on the moon describe the sky as pure black, yet the sunlight so sharp it feels metallic. On the moon, shadows have edges like glass. On Mars, the sunset glows blue instead of red. as fine dust scatters the wavelengths differently. Even the universe paints differently depending on where you stand. The Chandra X-ray Observatory sees high-energy bursts invisible to human eyes. The Spitzer telescope saw infrared heat glowing from the birthplaces of stars. The James Webb sees deep into the ancient redshift. Together, these observatories built a single truth: the cosmos is not one color, but an infinite spectrum, each frequency telling a part of the same quiet song. Light curves under gravity, a phenomenon Einstein called gravitational lensing. Mass bends space and space bends light. That means even brightness itself listens to gravity like a note drawn toward a deep drum beat. In this way, you could say light remembers where it's been, carrying the fingerprint of every star, every planet, every passing shadow. When you walk in the sunlight, the photons that touch your skin are ancient. They were born in the sun's core hundreds of thousands of years ago, colliding through plasma, bouncing, scattering, changing form until they finally escaped. By the time one of them reaches you, it has already lived several lifetimes. It dies when it touches you, turning into warmth. And that warmth becomes heartbeat. You might not realize it, but your body speaks light fluently. Your cells use it to synchronize circadian rhythms. Your hormones rise and fall with the length of day. You heal faster in its glow, sleep better when it fades. Light doesn't just illuminate, it instructs. It tells the body when to wake the mind, when to dream. NASA's Artemis missions are studying how light behaves on the moon's surface, where shadowed craters remain frozen in perpetual night. Inside them, scientists found ice untouched for billions of years, a reminder that darkness preserves even as it conceals. Perhaps that's the secret. Light and dark are not enemies. They are collaborators. The shadow gives light its depth, and light gives shadow its meaning. Without one, the other could not exist. You too are made of both the bright fire of neurons and the quiet gravity of thought. Your joy and your sorrow are two halves of the same illumination. Even your pulse, the faint glow behind your eyelids, the rhythm of your breath, is the meeting place of light and silence. As you drift towards sleep tonight, imagine yourself as a photon, weightless, endless, moving through infinite dark. You touch no ground yet. Everywhere you go, you leave warmth behind. You are both the traveler and the trail of fire. And when you rest, the world still glows, not because light has gone, but because you have learned how to carry it within you. You fall every night, not through space, but through yourself. Your body lies still, but your mind drifts into a place where gravity feels different. Time stretches, memories fold. You move through worlds that do not exist, and yet somehow they feel like home. Scientists call this state REM sleep, rapid eye movement, a cycle that repeats every 90 minutes. During it, your brain becomes almost as active as when you're awake. Electric storms ripple through the cortex, painting thoughts into color, sound into story. And somewhere in that silent lightning, you dream. NASA studies dreams too, not for poetry, but for survival. In space where there is no sunrise and no down, astronauts' circadian rhythms slip. Their dreams change. They report floating sensations, echoes of earthly sound waves, whined laughter that never existed on the station. Perhaps dreams are the mind's way of remembering gravity even when it's gone. When you dream, your brain's logic centers, the prefrontal cortex, go quiet. The emotional centers, the amygdala and limbic system, light up. That's why dreams feel vivid but strange, why rules dissolve, why people long gone can appear beside you again. It is not madness, it is rehearsal. Your mind is testing possibilities, restoring balance to the emotional orbit of your life. In 2019, researchers used fMRI scanners to watch the dreaming brain in real time. They found that during REM sleep, memories are replayed, reorganized, as if the mind were stitching fragments into meaning. Neuroscientists call this memory consolidation, a kind of housekeeping for the soul. Without it, memory frays. Without dreams, we forget who we are. You dream more than you realize. Even brief naps contain seconds of dream work, tiny sketches of reality redrawn. Each night you spend nearly 2 hours in this state. By the end of your life, you will have dreamed for almost 6 years. NASA once recorded the brain waves of astronauts during long-duration missions. They noticed that REM sleep patterns became shallower, and when they returned to Earth, those patterns deepened again, as if the mind could finally rest once gravity embraced it once more. The conclusion was poetic. Even for science, the human brain sleeps better when it remembers the pull of home. Gravity isn't only a force between planets. It exists within you, in the pull between fear and faith, memory and release. Dreams are how your inner universe finds its balance. You felt it that moment before waking, when you're neither here nor there. Your body is heavy, your thoughts still half in some other place. This is the hypnagogic state, a bridge between waking and dreaming. Artists and inventors have long lingered here. Edison, Tesla, Dali, sitting with metal balls in hand, so that as they drifted off, the falling spheres would wake them. They believed inspiration lived in that borderland, and science agrees creativity peaks when logic loosens. NASA's psychologists train astronauts to use these dreamlike states to visualize success before high-stress missions. In a sense, they dream on purpose, a controlled imagination that steadies the mind. Your brain does the same each night, crafting simulations, testing emotions, practicing survival. But there's another layer quieter still. During deep sleep, your brain waves slow to delta frequencies, long, gentle waves like tides against a shore. This is when the glymphatic system opens, flushing toxins, cleansing the brain's rivers with cerebrospinal fluid. It's a physical renewal, a literal washing of thought. You wake lighter, not only in spirit, but in chemistry. NASA's medical division once found that astronauts deprived of deep sleep experienced memory lapses, irritability, and even mild hallucinations. Sleep isn't optional, it's maintenance, and dreams are the software update. In one experiment, scientists played subtle sounds linked to learned tasks while subjects slept. When they awoke, their performance improved. It meant the brain can learn even in dreams, a truth both wondrous and humbling. The act of dreaming itself is ancient. Even birds and mammals show REM phases. In dogs, paws twitch. In whales, only half the brain sleeps at a time. In humans, the whole orchestra plays. Dreaming may have evolved not as escape, but as rehearsal for consciousness, a safe simulation to practice being alive. There are theories that dreams are random noise, that they're prophecy, that they're nothing but the echo of neurons firing. But listen closely, and they sound more like language, a whispering between the emotional and rational, between the infinite and the intimate. And if that's true, then every dream is a conversation between who you are and who you're becoming. In 2022, an ESA astronaut wrote in his mission diary, "Sometimes I wake in orbit, not knowing where I am. But then I remember the Earth blew round, silent. And I realize my dreams have gravity. Maybe yours do too. Maybe each one pulls you gently back towards something real, a memory, a forgiveness, a hope you hadn't named yet. Your brain does not dream to confuse you. It dreams to complete you, to finish unfinished stories, to smooth sharp edges of emotion, to weave darkness into understanding. You may forget the details by morning, but the healing remains. And so, as you lie here now, remember this. The fall into sleep isn't surrender, it's orbit. Your consciousness circling itself, held by the quiet gravity of rest. Soon you'll drift again through memory, through feeling, through landscapes that never were and yet always are. And while your body sleeps, your mind will keep moving softly, endlessly tracing the same path the planets take around their stars. Dream well, because in every dream the universe rehearses what it means to be whole. There's a moment just before the world disappears when everything inside you begins to slow. Your breath softens, your pulse drifts. Thoughts untangle themselves from language. The body that carried you all day begins to surrender its weight to the dark. This is the border between waking and rest, the quiet threshold that your mind crosses every night without fanfare, without witness. It's not the end of consciousness, but a change in direction, a return inward, like a tide folding back into the ocean. NASA scientists call this transition the hypnagogic drift. It's the descent of brain waves from beta, the rhythm of thought, to alpha, the rhythm of calm, then down to theta, where imagination loosens and the gates of dreaming open. In space, astronauts describe this moment as falling without falling. No up, no down, only floating. Perhaps that's what sleep really is, a kind of orbit within yourself. Your body, meanwhile, performs its most delicate choreography. The pineal gland releases melatonin, lowering your body temperature. Your muscles relax. Your blood pressure drops by 10 to 20%. Your eyes, though closed, still move slowly at first, then still. And in the silence that follows, the universe inside you begins to work. The glymphatic system, that quiet river in your brain, flows strongest when you sleep. It washes away the metabolic debris of thought proteins, toxins, fragments of yesterday. It is the night janitor of consciousness, sweeping the floors of the mind so that memory can walk clear in the morning. Every night your cells rehearse resurrection. DNA repairs itself. Muscles weave new fibers. The immune system releases cytokines, tiny soldiers that heal and defend. Dreaming then isn't passive, it's the theater of regeneration. NASA's Human Research Program has spent years studying how sleep works beyond Earth. In microgravity, sleep becomes lighter fragmented. Without the pull of gravity, blood and cerebrospinal fluid distribute differently, altering how the brain senses fatigue. So engineers designed sleep pods on the International Space Station with dimmable lights that simulate sunrise and sunset. Even in orbit, the body needs rhythm. Even among stars, we still follow the heartbeat of Earth. Back here in your own quiet orbit, you are not so different. Your biology still listens to the turning of the world. When night deepens, your brain releases adenosine, a chemical that builds through the day like gentle pressure, urging you towards surrender. When you rest, adenosine dissolves, resetting the clock for tomorrow. It's a cycle older than language, as old as fire, as certain as dusk. Sleep is not a luxury. It's the oldest agreement between body and universe. It's where entropy meets renewal, where awareness dissolves into energy, where you remember what it means to be safe. Sometimes you resist it, the mind clinging to its noise, afraid of the quiet. But quiet is not absence. It's the sound of repair. In silence, your neurons whisper, your cells rebuild your memories, weave themselves into story. The world doesn't stop when you close your eyes. It just moves more softly. In 2021, NASA's Behavioral Health and Performance Lab used EEG and heart rate monitoring on long-haul astronauts. They discovered that during deep sleep, heartbeats synchronize into near-perfect coherence, the same rhythm seen in meditation. The body finds a frequency of peace, as if the universe tunes you back to harmony before dawn. You may think of sleep as forgetting, but it's more like dissolving. It takes the day, its noise, its colors, its ache, and melts it into neutrality. What remains are only impressions, like waves flattening after a storm. In that smoothness, healing begins. Every animal, from the smallest bird to the blue whale, follows this ritual. Even trees rest. At night, their leaves droop slightly, as if exhaling after hours of sunlight. Rest is not unique to you, it is the heartbeat of existence itself. In deep sleep, your brain's activity shifts into slow wave patterns. These waves travel through the cortex like tides of silence, strengthening the bonds between neurons that matter, loosening the ones that don't. Your sense of self dissolves, and yet you remain a field of quiet electricity, suspended in the dark. This is the true miracle. You fall into unconsciousness and wake again, trusting that your heart will keep beating and the world will keep turning. Every morning is proof that faith doesn't need to be named, only practiced. The astronauts who orbit Earth say that from space, sleep feels like surrendering to light. They close their eyes to darkness, but dream in brightness, the sun rising 16 times a day each dawn, washing over the curve of the planet like a heartbeat. Maybe that's the secret we all share, that even in darkness, we are surrounded by light. Your body knows this. When you drift into sleep, your brain releases bursts of sleep, spindles, tiny storms of oscillation that protect you from waking too easily. It's the mind's way of saying, I'll hold the world for you while you rest. And so it holds. It keeps the lungs breathing, the heart beating, the cells humming quietly beneath the skin. It keeps the dream alive until morning returns. By the time dawn touches the horizon, your brain will have cycled through its 5 stages 4 or 5 times. It will have erased, restored, reorganized, forgiven. You will not remember most of it, but your body will. It will carry the softness of rest like a secret melody under your skin. And as the light begins to rise, you will return to waking a little newer, a little lighter, as if the night itself has breathed you back into being. So now, as the noise of the day fades, let go. The world doesn't need you to stay awake to love it. It will wait. The stars will keep their watch. Your body will remember the rhythm, and sleep, quiet, unhurried, infinite, will find you again. Sleep well, dream gently, good night.